Hello, this is Rod Ovitt with another Take 5. This is something we bring to you weekly, every Monday through Saturday. So glad you're here. Let's just set the table. Let's sit down. Let's look at a passage. And it's a very interesting passage today. It's found in Exodus 4:24 through 26. At a lodging place on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off her son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. "Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me," she said. So the Lord let him alone. At that time she said bridegroom of blood, referring to the circumcision. Now what kind of passage is that? If you're hearing this for the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if you're quite alarmed at its content. And even if you're familiar with the passage, it's one of those that's very puzzling and difficult to get our arms around. God killed Moses? Is that for real? In the verses immediately preceding this, we know that God had selected Moses to carry out the emancipation of Israel from the hardships of Egyptian slavery. He sent him on his way with these words, "Now the Lord had said to Moses and Midian, 'Go back to Egypt, for all the men who wanted to kill you are dead.'" So let's get this straight. Moses, you can go back now because those that sought to kill you are dead, and yet now God is going to kill him? Somehow there had to be something else going on here, and there probably was. Now, regarding the circumcision of Moses' son, we don't really know which one this was. He had two. There was Gershon, and there was Eleazar. And for his many years there in Midian, it seems that Moses had neglected to obey God's command. You remember the one back in Genesis 17, that he was to circumcise their sons? That was given to Abraham, the covenant of circumcision. And I think what was happening is Moses had lived out here alone for a long time. Now, he loved God, but he was intermarried. He was in another religious group, per se. Even though they were followers of Yahweh, they come from another distinct background. And evidently, circumcision was abhorrent to his wife. We can tell that from her reaction. She takes the foreskin and hurls it at his feet. Now, some commentators think that might have been something meaningful, but I think it was probably just a little bit of anger because of the words she says. "You're a bridegroom of blood to me." She's mad about it. She didn't want to do it. So what was happening here? We don't quite know, but we know he's already on a mission for God. And perhaps he was struck with some sickness and he lay there dying. And somehow all of this was communicated to his wife because she's the one that does the action. I think had God had a conversation with Moses about this, he would have gotten up and done it himself, or just talked to his wife and said, "Look, I don't care what you people think and what you do, but we've got to be obedient to God or he's going to do something about it." So the fact that she broke down her reluctance and did this sort of apprehensively and angrily through the foreskin and called him a bridegroom of blood, all of that tells me that she needed the persuading. And yet God was real in the fact that, look, I've just asked your husband, I've asked Moses to represent me, to go to these other people and tell the very Pharaoh that because you're not obeying me, I'm going to take your firstborn, and yet you haven't obeyed me in the covenant of circumcision. So what kind of example are you? And all of this causes me pause, and it should cause you pause. Because I'm sure in each of our lives there are those things that we don't want to let go of, those things that we fudge, those things that we live in denial and disobedience. We walk close to the edge. And we have to remember that God is an exacting God of morality. There's no gray with God. It's black and white. Now, the fact that Jesus redeemed us, that his blood was shed for us, that the penalty was paid, that opens up a whole new relationship. And yes, we can have relationship with God. The veil has been torn down. We can talk to him. We can come to him with honesty and openness. But nevertheless, let's not be pushy. See, Jesus intercedes for us. And how many times is that saying, what are you doing, Rod? What are you doing? Let's stop that. And we have to repent, and we have to confess our sin. And I think David put it best in Psalm 139, 23 and 24. And I love it in the King James. It goes like this: Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my thoughts. And see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. And I know I've prayed that prayer, and you're saying, God, please look at my heart. Know that I'm honest here before you, and that I've taken that ugliness out, and I've put it over here, and I don't want to be that way with you. I want to be obedient. And if there's something I'm forgetting, if it's still not clean enough, show it to me. If there's an offense in me, let me know where I can get right with you, and I can live worthy of the salvation you've given me. I mean, Paul tells us to walk worthy. He's not saying earn your salvation. He's saying live like you've been saved. Live like it cost something. Because it did. It cost Jesus a lot. So there you have it, some obscure passage, one that is a little shocking, but there's logic there. See, I don't think God was going to kill Moses any more than he was going to take Isaac. But he stepped right up to it and said, look, this could happen. Let's see how obedient you're willing to be. And he does that with us. It's called testing. It's called little trials. It's called seeing how obedient we are and do we need to keep growing. We do that with our children. It's just a way of parenting. It's a way of helping us get to maturity. So you thank God today. You thank him for loving you enough to care, for allowing you to say, God, search me, know me, because he really does want to. He wants to know you intimately. He's a God of relationship. You do these things. You keep the air clean. You confess sins. You keep your doors open in your heart, and we will certainly have blessed days.